This is not Star Wars. Let me explain. Star Wars may be one of the most successful ripoffs in cinematic history. And before you grab your pitchforks, hear me out. Star Wars is a classic. There's no denying that. But there's no such thing as an original idea in a vacuum, right? Great stories borrow, they steal, they take inspiration and turn it into something new. So the question isn't whether Star Wars ripped off another story, but how it took inspiration from similar sources and ended up in a twinkle-toed Jedi waltzing a little too close to a sand-dwelling Fremen warrior. Let's start with the big picture. Obviously, there are similarities between Star Wars and lots of other sci-fi projects, but none so much as Frank Herbert's 1965 novel Dune. Both Star Wars and Dune are space operas. They take us on epic journeys across vast interstellar empires, with galactic politics, noble houses vying for power, and of course, a chosen one destined for greatness. In Star Wars, we have the rebellion fighting the tyrannical empire, with Luke Skywalker emerging as the prophesied hero. In Dune, House Atreides is entrusted with the desert planet Arrakis, the only source of the spice melange, a substance vital for space travel and with mind-altering properties. Paul Atreides, son of Duke Leto, is the prophesied Kwisatz Haderach, destined to reshape the universe. Here we see the foundation for both narratives. Star Wars paints the Empire as this monolithic evil, a spacefaring Rome with stormtroopers replacing legions. Dune's Padishah Emperor may seem distant, but the manipulative machinations of the Bene Gesserit and the ruthless Harkonnens create a more complex web of power struggles. Spice, the lifeblood of interstellar travel in Dune, becomes a metaphor for the resources that fuel galactic empires, mirroring the fight for control of trade routes and planets in Star Wars. Now, if we zoom in on some of the characters, we see Luke Skywalker, a farm boy from Tatooine who yearns for adventure and discovers he has the potential to become a Jedi Knight. We also have Paul Atreides, the son of a noble duke, who's trained in various fighting styles and mystical abilities by his mother, the Bene Gesserit witch-like order. Both are thrust from their ordinary lives into extraordinary destinies, mentored by wise old men. The hero's journey is a classic storytelling trope, and both Star Wars and Dune utilize it effectively. We connect with Luke's desire to escape the drudgery of Tatooine, just as we understand Paul's yearning to prove himself worthy of his noble lineage. The characters' mentors, Obi-Wan and Duncan Idaho, serve similar purposes, passing on knowledge, skills, and a sense of purpose. However, there are some key differences. Obi-Wan is a fated Jedi Knight, his power waning, while Duncan Idaho is a fierce warrior, a loyal companion who dies protecting Paul. I feel like Duncan is a more interesting mentor than Obi-Wan Kenobi. Kenobi feels like a tired archetype of the wise old hermit. Duncan's mentorship is arguably more compelling than Obi-Wan's. While both exhibit fierce loyalty, Duncan's warrior spirit and ultimate sacrifice lend a gravitas to his character that Obi-Wan's more traditional mentor figure lacks. Duncan's end is a true sacrifice, whereas Obi-Wan's passing, though significant, seems to serve primarily as a catalyst for Luke's introduction to the Force. Another really important aspect of these stories is the mystical side. The Force in Star Wars binds the galaxy together, a mysterious energy field that grants Jedi Knights incredible powers. In Dune, the melange grants heightened awareness and even prescient visions. Both involve a deep connection to the universe and the character's abilities to manipulate it. The Force is a more nebulous concept, a guiding energy field that can be used for telekinesis, mind tricks, and lightsaber mastery. The melange, on the other hand, has a biological and physiological impact. It grants heightened senses, the ability to see glimpses of the future, and even extends your lifespan. This difference reflects the overall tones of the stories. Star Wars leans into the fantastical, while Dune has a more grounded, scientific approach. I find the ambiguity of the Force more intriguing. It leaves room for interpretation and philosophical exploration. Spice, on the other hand, while interesting, it feels more grounded in science, making it less mysterious. The Dune universe revolves around the spice in every aspect, whereas Star Wars is seeped in the Force throughout. One, a very political piece in the context of the story, the other, a very religious piece in the context of the story. Also, we have to look at the mechanical and the mental side of the stories. With this, we encounter the beloved droids of Star Wars, including C-3PO and R2-D2, who provide levity and practical assistance in equal measure. They're the heart and soul of the team, offering comic relief, translation services, and mechanical expertise. In the universe of Dune, the Mentats serve as the intellectual counterparts to these droids. Though lacking in visual charm, Mentats are human computers, their minds sharpened to an unparalleled edge, serving as strategic advisors and political tacticians. While the droids of Star Wars foster a sense of camaraderie and warmth, the Mentats of Dune embody the calculated efficiency of their world. Both, however, are indispensable, highlighting the unique narrative styles of each of their respective universes. One filled with friendship and humor, and the other with the cool precision of intellect and strategy. Now, it's important to look beyond the surface and consider the deeper themes embedded within these stories. Both franchises grapple with ecological issues and the consequences of unchecked power. In Star Wars, the Death Star serves as a symbol of the Empire's destructive tendencies. This moon-sized space station, capable of obliterating entire planets, represents the dangers of unchecked militarism and the exploitation of resources. Dune's Arrakis is a harsh desert planet ravaged by giant sandworms. The Fremen, the native population, have learned to live in harmony with this unforgiving environment. The exploitation of Arrakis for spice, a resource essential for interstellar travel, throws the planet's ecology further out of balance. Both stories warn us about the dangers of greed and our impact on the environment. The Empire's lust for power leads them to develop the Death Star, a weapon so destructive it threatens the entire galaxy. On the other side, the Fremen struggle to preserve their way of life as outsiders exploit their homeworld. While Star Wars presents a more clear-cut good versus evil conflict, Dune offers a more nuanced perspective, highlighting the complexities of resource management and the ripple effects of colonialism. Dune's message about ecological balance feels more relevant today. The Death Star just feels like a giant space weapon, but the destruction of Arrakis is a slow, insidious drain on a vital resource, mirroring our own environmental challenges. I think it's also important to remember that neither Star Wars nor Dune exists in a vacuum. Both George Lucas and Frank Herbert drew inspiration from a rich tapestry of mythology, history, and science fiction. The hero's journey, a narrative archetype popularized by Joseph Campbell, is a thread woven into both stories. We see the classic elements: the call to adventure, the refusal of the call, the meeting with the mentor, the tests, allies and enemies, the approach to the inmost cave, the ordeal, the reward, the road back, the resurrection, and the return with the elixir. Star Wars might be a bit more explicit in its adherence to this structure though. Luke's journey from farm boy to Jedi Knight checks every single one of the boxes. Dune, however, takes a more circuitous path. Paul's destiny is intertwined with the fate of Arrakis and the Fremen people. His hero's journey is more about understanding his own power and navigating the complex web of galactic politics. And I, for one, prefer a more complex hero's journey like Paul's. Luke's path feels a bit predictable, while Paul's seems more morally ambiguous and forces him to grapple with the consequences of his choices. So, what can we take away from all this? Well, firstly, there's nothing wrong with taking inspiration from existing works. The key is to take those elements and weave them into something fresh and unique. Star Wars may share some DNA with Dune, but it injects a sense of space fantasy, swashbuckling adventure, and a clear good versus evil conflict that resonates with audiences worldwide. Looking at Star Wars through the lens of Dune allows us to appreciate the deeper themes of political intrigue and environmentalism that sometimes gets overshadowed by the lightsabers and X-Wings. For example, the rebellion's fight against the Empire can be seen as a struggle against a tyrannical regime that prioritizes control and dominance over the well-being of its citizens. Similarly, the plight of the Fremen on Arrakis can be seen as a cautionary tale about the exploitation of natural resources and the importance of ecological balance. Finally, both stories highlight the power of storytelling archetypes. The hero's journey, the fight against tyranny, the chosen one, these ideas resonate with us because they tap into something fundamental about the human experience. Star Wars and Dune may be set in different galaxies, but they speak a universal language. And no, I don't mean English. The themes of good versus evil, the struggle for freedom, and the importance of finding your place in the universe are timeless. By recognizing the influences that shaped Star Wars, we can appreciate it on a deeper level. And by exploring the works that inspired it, like Dune, we can expand our own understanding of science fiction and the power of storytelling. So the next time you watch Star Wars, keep an ear out for whispers of the desert wind and the spice melange. And if you haven't already, dive into the sprawling world of Dune, and you might just find yourself staring into a pair of familiar blue eyes. But our exploration doesn't end with Dune. Star Wars borrows from a rich tapestry of influences. The choreography and honor code of the Jedi Knights owe much to the samurai films of Akira Kurosawa, infusing the lightsaber duels with a sense of tradition and elegance. The Flash Gordon serials of the 1930s also left their mark, lending a sense of high-stakes adventure and classic heroism to the space opera. While the campy charm of Flash Gordon adds a nostalgic touch, it's Kurosawa's influence that deeply enriches the narrative fabric of Star Wars. Even the aesthetics of Star Wars draw inspiration from historical periods and mythological creatures. The Stormtrooper's white armor evokes the anonymity and brutality of fascist regimes. The imposing Darth Vader draws parallels to samurai armor and mythical fallen angels. Darth Vader's resemblance to a fallen angel, particularly Lucifer, is really fascinating to me. It adds a layer of tragic complexity to the character, hinting at a potential for redemption. Recognizing these influences doesn't diminish Star Wars though. In fact, it shows how George Lucas skillfully combined these elements to create something entirely new and captivating. Star Wars became a cultural phenomenon because it resonated with audience on a deeper level. In our discussion of Star Wars influences, it's important to consider the concept of creative borrowing, championed by writer and artist Austin Kleon in his book, Steal Like an Artist. Kleon argues that nothing is entirely original, and that the most creative minds are those who can effectively steal from their predecessors, remixing and reimagining existing ideas into something fresh and new. Star Wars perfectly exemplifies this concept. George Lucas wasn't afraid to borrow elements from various sources, including Dune, samurai films, and even mythology. By understanding these influences, we appreciate how Lucas stole strategically, weaving them together to create a unique and captivating space opera. Kleon offers some practical tips on how to steal like an artist. He encourages creators to identify things they love, understand the roots of their inspiration, and then transform what they've learned into their own voice. This aligns perfectly with how Lucas took inspiration from Dune's desert planet and galactic politics, then transformed them into the harsh landscape of Tatooine and the oppressive rule of the Empire. Stealing is everywhere in movies. Take The Matrix. It wouldn't exist without cyberpunk novels and anime, but it throws in killer action and makes you question reality in a whole new way. And I'm a huge fan of that approach. It's like taking your favorite ingredients and whipping up something totally unexpected. Just look at Inception. Dream movies aren't new, but they threw in layers of dreams within dreams and mind-blowing visuals, and bam, instant classic. The point is, borrowing can be awesome. It inspires new ideas and keeps storytelling fresh. So the next time you watch a movie, see if you can spot the cool ways they stole something and made it their own. It's important to note that there's a fine line between inspiration and imitation. Kleon emphasizes that true artistic theft involves taking inspiration and using it as a springboard for your own creative journey. Lucas wasn't simply copying Dune, he was using it as a launchpad to explore his own ideas about heroism, rebellion, and the power of mystical energy. Steal Like an Artist reminds us that every creative work builds upon what came before it. Star Wars is a shining example of this ongoing conversation. Lucas borrowed from existing stories, but he did so thoughtfully and strategically. The ongoing popularity of the franchise, with new films, TV shows, and video games, demonstrates the enduring power of Lucas's vision. Our discussion of Star Wars influences begs a larger question though. How does the creative process behind a film like Dune differ from the approach taken by Disney and Lucasfilm in building the modern Star Wars franchise? Let's compare the solitary vision of Denis Villeneuve, director of the recent Dune film, to the collaborative world of Disney's Star Wars machine. Denis Villeneuve's Dune is a meticulously crafted adaptation of Frank Herbert's sprawling sci-fi novel. Villeneuve, known for his cerebral and visually stunning films like Arrival and Blade Runner 2049, poured his artistic vision into the project. He aimed to capture the novel's complex themes of ecology, politics, and religious fanaticism while delivering a visually breathtaking cinematic experience. The creative decisions in Villeneuve's Dune stem from his personal interpretation of the source material. He condenses the massive novel into a focused narrative, emphasizing certain characters and storylines while streamlining others. This approach is typical of auteur directors, who prioritize their own vision over strict adherence to the source material. Disney's approach to Star Wars is vastly different. Following their acquisition of Lucasfilm in 2012, they've built a sprawling multimedia franchise encompassing films, television shows, novels, and video games. This necessitates a more collaborative approach, with multiple writers, directors, and producers contributing to the overall narrative. The challenge for Disney and Lucasfilm lies in maintaining the continuity within the Star Wars universe while introducing fresh ideas and storylines. They utilize a story group to ensure all projects adhere to a broad narrative arc, ensuring a sense of cohesion for fans. This collaborative approach allows for diverse voices and creative interpretations within the established Star Wars framework. Villeneuve's singular vision allows for a more cohesive and thematically rich film. Dune is a director's interpretation, a personal artistic statement. However, this approach can alienate some fans who expect a more faithful adaptation of the source material. Disney and Lucasfilm's collaborative approach allows for a broader appeal and the potential for richer world building. They can cater to a wider audience with diverse stories and characters. However, the emphasis on continuity and audience expectations can sometimes limit creative freedom, leading to a sense of formula or predictability. The future of Star Wars will likely see a continuation of this balancing act between directorial vision and franchise cohesion. Disney can learn from Villeneuve by allowing directors more creative freedom, resulting in films with a stronger artistic identity. Villeneuve, on the other hand, could benefit from incorporating elements of collaboration to ensure his future projects connect with an even wider audience. Ultimately, both approaches have their merits. Villeneuve's Dune serves as a reminder of the power of a director's singular vision, while Disney's Star Wars demonstrates the potential of a collaborative storytelling universe. For fans, it allows us to appreciate Star Wars in all its forms, a testament to the enduring power of this fictional galaxy far, far away. And the impact of Star Wars is undeniable. It spawned a multimedia franchise, ignited imaginations for generations, and continues to inspire filmmakers and storytellers today. Heck, it even got me started making videos in the first place with lightsaber duels between me and my brothers. But Star Wars' success lies not just in its originality, but in its ability to reimagine and reinterpret existing tropes. The space opera genre itself is a testament to this power of reinterpretation. From Isaac Asimov's Foundation series to Battlestar Galactica, these stories take familiar elements, space travel, alien encounters, galactic empires, and weave them into narratives that explore themes of humanity, technology, and the future of our species. So, is Star Wars a ripoff of Dune? Not quite. It's a shining example of how stories can evolve and build upon each other. By understanding the influences that shaped Star Wars, we can appreciate it on a deeper level. And by exploring the works that inspired it, we open ourselves up to a universe of rich and thought-provoking science fiction. In the end, this exploration isn't about diminishing either Star Wars or Dune. It's a celebration of storytelling. It's about recognizing the power of these narratives to transport us to different worlds, challenge our perspectives, and ignite our imaginations. So the next time you explore a galaxy far, far away or delve into the deserts of Arrakis, remember that these stories are part of a vast and interconnected tapestry, and that just about every aspect of these worlds was stolen from someone who stole it from a world before them. Thanks for watching. See you next time.